The night air outside Manhattan's most exclusive restaurant shimmered with paparazzi flashes. Inside, chandeliers cast a golden glow across velvet booths and polished marble floors. Every table was filled with powerful men and women who thrived on status, deals, and gossip. Among them, billionaire Damien Cross and his glamorous girlfriend Sienna Vega sat in the spotlight. Raina Brooks tried to keep her head down as she carried a tray of cocktails toward the corner booth. She'd been working at La Mirage for 6 months, long enough to learn that rich people never looked at the waitstaff unless something went wrong. And in this world, one mistake could cost you your job. Table 12 needs champagne pronto, her manager whispered, brushing past her. Got it, Lana replied, forcing a smile. She moved quickly, her black uniform crisp, her hair tied neatly in a bun. Tonight was just another shift, she told herself. Take the orders, keep the pace, go home, and send money to her brother's school tuition account. Nothing dramatic. But fate rarely listened. Later, after midnight, when the last guests had finally left and the tables were stripped of crystal and caviar, Lana walked into the employee locker room. Her feet ached, her back screamed, and all she wanted was to change shoes and take the subway home. She opened her locker and froze. Inside sat a pair of shoes, not just any shoes. Black stilettos glittering with crystals, the kind she'd only seen in glossy magazines. She lifted one, almost trembling. On the sole was the unmistakable gold stamp, Elboton limited edition, price tag $10,000. What the hell, she whispered. She had never touched anything so expensive in her life. Before she could process, a voice behind her cut through the silence. Well, what do we have here? Lena turned sharply. Standing at the doorway was Sienna Vega, draped in her fur coat, lips curved in a cruel smile. Damien's girlfriend, the influencer who had built her empire flaunting luxury brands. I don't know how these got here, Lana stammered, clutching the shoe. Sienna's laugh was sharp and cold. Of course you don't, you people never do. I swear I didn't. Sienna snatched the heel from her hand and held it up dramatically, as if staging a scene for her millions of followers. You actually thought you could walk out of here with my shoes? Do you even know how much these cost? Lena's heart pounded. They were in my locker. I didn't put them there. Sienna's eyes gleamed. That's cute, but let me guess you were planning to sell them online, maybe pay off some student loans. Pathetic. Before Lena could reply, the door opened again. Her manager, Nora Dias, stepped inside, confusion etched across her face. What's going on? Sienna held out the shoe like it was evidence of a crime. Your little waitress tried to steal from me. $10,000. You might want to call security. Nora's gaze darted from Lana to Sienna. That doesn't make sense, Lena, as not. Sienna cut her off, her voice rising so everyone in the hall could hear. Don't defend her. I found her holding my shoes in her locker. Do you need more proof? The words hung heavy in the air. A murmur of voices grew as other staff poked their heads in, curious. Lena felt her throat tighten. This couldn't be happening. Not here, not like this. I didn't steal anything, she cried. Someone put them there, I don't even know. The sharp click of leather shoes echoed as 2 security guards stepped in. Miss Brooks, please come with us. Her stomach dropped. She turned desperately to Nora, but her manager's face was pale, torn between protecting her and the power Sienna Vega represented. You can't believe this, Lana whispered, voice shaking. Nora, please. But Nora's silence spoke volumes. Against the wealth of Damien Cross, what chance did a waitress have? Outside, cameras exploded like fireworks as Lana was escorted to the curb. Paparazzi who had been waiting for Damien and Sienna now had fresh meat. Waitress steals luxury shoes, one shouted. Did you really try to rob Sienna Vega? Another yelled. The flashes blinded her, tears burned her eyes. She wanted to scream the truth, but every sound would be twisted, every photo sold. Sienna stepped out behind her, draping herself on Damien's arm. The billionaire didn't even glance at Lena. His jaw was stone, his eyes fixed ahead as if she didn't exist. Sienna tilted her head, smirking for the cameras. I guess some people just can't resist a taste of luxury, she said sweetly. The reporters erupted with laughter and scribbles. Lena's knees nearly buckled. Her world, already fragile, was collapsing in real time. That night, alone in her tiny apartment, she dropped onto her bed. Her phone buzzed nonstop with notifications. News blogs, gossip accounts, even TikTok edits. Her face was everywhere, paired with captions like "The Shoe Thief of Manhattan." Her brother called, his voice worried. She couldn't answer. How could she tell him the truth when the whole world was calling her a criminal? She buried her face in her pillow and sobbed until her body shook. She wasn't just losing her job. She was losing her name, her dignity, her chance at a future. But even in the darkness, a thought pulsed through her mind. This was too perfect, too staged. Someone wanted her destroyed. The next evening, as she scrolled through endless hate comments, her phone buzzed again. This time it wasn't a call. It was a text, unknown number. It read, "If you want the truth about those shoes, meet me at the Plaza Hotel. Tonight, midnight." Her breath caught, hands trembling, she reread the message. Who could it be, a trap, or the only chance to prove she wasn't a thief? The city roared outside her window, neon lights flickering against her tear-stained face. She clutched her phone, her heart pounding. For the first time since the nightmare began, Lena felt a spark of something she hadn't allowed herself to feel. Hope, but hope in Manhattan was dangerous. The message stared back at Lena like a glowing secret in the dark. If you want the truth about those shoes, meet me at the Plaza Hotel, tonight, midnight. She read it again and again, her chest tightening with every repetition. The Plaza, a place she had only ever passed on her way to the subway, a place dripping with history, power, and money, none of which belonged to her. She paced her apartment, the floor creaking under her worn sneakers. This could be a trap. For all she knew, the same person who planted the shoes in her locker wanted to ruin her even further. But if she ignored it, she'd forever be the shoe thief the world had already decided she was. Her brother's voice echoed in her mind the last time he'd called. "Lena, tell me this isn't true." The disappointment in his tone cut deeper than the paparazzi's questions or Sienna's sneer. She grabbed her coat and whispered to herself, "I can't let them win." By the time Lena reached Fifth Avenue, the plaza rose before her like a palace. Lights spilled across its ornate facade, illuminating horse-drawn carriages waiting at the curb. Limousines slid up to the entrance, doors opening for women in couture gowns and men in tuxedos. Lena felt like a shadow sneaking into a world that wasn't hers. Her heart pounded as she crossed the street, head down, clutching her phone like it might save her. Inside, the lobby gleamed with gold-trimmed chandeliers and marble columns. Guests glided past in hushed elegance, and Lena's reflection in the polished floor looked wildly out of place. Her simple black jeans, the fraying hem of her coat, her face pale from sleepless nights. She checked her phone, no new messages, just the same line daring her forward. Midnight, the plaza. She climbed the grand staircase, her footsteps muffled by the plush carpet. At the top, a corridor stretched long and quiet, lined with doors that hid 100 private rendezvous. At the far end, a woman leaned casually against the wall. Sienna Vega. Lena froze. The influencer's dress shimmered like liquid gold, hugging her curves, her makeup flawless. She looked every inch the star, except for the sly smile tugging at her lips. "I was wondering if you'd come," Sienna said smoothly. "I almost bet Damien you'd be too scared." Lena's voice cracked. "You sent that text." "Of course I did." Sienna stepped closer, the sharp click of her heels echoing in the hall. "Who else would care enough to give you the truth?" Lana's fists tightened. "You framed me. Those shoes were mine," Sienna interrupted, eyes glittering. "And you made the perfect fall girl, poor little waitress. No one doubts a scandal when the victim looks guilty enough." Her words hit like daggers. "You ruined me," Lena whispered, anger mixing with despair. "I lost my job, my reputation, my brother." "Oh, spare me the sob story," Sienna cut in with a laugh. "You think I care? Damien has investors breathing down his neck. My job is to keep him untouchable. If that means torching your life for a headline, then congratulations, you did your part." Tears stung Lana's eyes, but she held them back. "Why tell me this? Why bring me here?" Sienna leaned in, her perfume rich and suffocating. "Because I want you to understand how powerless you are. Damien and I own this city. One word from us, and your face will never appear anywhere but in mugshots." Then almost playfully she brushed Lena's arm with the tip of her manicured nail. "But maybe I'm not all bad. Maybe I'll give you a chance to disappear quietly if you agree to stay gone." Lana recoiled. "Stay gone?" Sienna smirked. "Quit the restaurant, leave Manhattan, stop trying to prove anything. No one will believe you anyway. Do that and I'll make sure the gossip cycle forgets you in a week. Otherwise," she paused, her smile sharpening, "otherwise you'll wish all you lost were a pair of shoes." Lena's breath caught. Every instinct screamed at her to walk away, but something inside snapped. "You're wrong," she said, her voice trembling but strong. "Someone will believe me. Nora saw the footage. She knows what you did." For the first time, Sienna's confident mask faltered. "What footage?" Lena almost smiled. That flicker of panic was all the confirmation she needed. "Maybe you should be more careful where you hide your lies." Sienna's jaw tightened. "You think some underpaid manager can save you? Damien has lawyers who eat people like her for breakfast." But Lena had already turned, her pulse racing. She had what she came for, not a confession on tape, but the knowledge that Sienna was scared, scared enough to slip, scared enough to expose herself. Back on the street, cold air whipped against Lena's face. She walked quickly, replaying the conversation in her head. Sienna's arrogance, her threats, her fear. This wasn't just about stolen shoes anymore. It was about power. Damien and Sienna thought they could crush her because she was nobody. But maybe, just maybe, the very fact she had nothing left to lose made her dangerous. Her phone buzzed again, another message from the same number. "Careful who you trust, even your friends may not be safe. D." Her blood ran cold. Damien. He knew he was watching. That night's sleep was impossible. Lena sat by her window, staring at the city lights. She could almost feel the walls closing in. Damien had the money, the influence, the lawyers. Sienna had the public sympathy, the power of social media. What did Lena have? Only Nora, and the faint hope that truth could still matter in a world built on lies. She pulled out her phone and texted her manager. "We need to meet tomorrow, urgent." The reply came instantly. "I've been waiting for you to say that." As dawn broke over Manhattan, Lena finally felt something she hadn't in days. Not peace, not safety, but resolve. She wasn't going to run. She wasn't going to stay silent. Damien Cross thought this was over. It was just beginning. The city was already awake when Lena stepped into the cafe across from Central Park. Steam fogged the windows, the smell of burnt espresso hanging in the air. She hadn't slept, but adrenaline carried her forward. In the corner booth sat Nora Diaz, her dark hair pulled back, her eyes sharp despite the morning hour. A laptop glowed in front of her. When Lena slid into the seat, Nora didn't waste time. "I've got something," Nora whispered. She turned the screen toward her. "Security footage from that night. You were right." Lana leaned closer. On the grainy video, a slender figure crept into the employee locker room just minutes before Lana arrived. The figure wore oversized sunglasses and a hood, but when she bent to slip the stilettos into a locker, the profile was unmistakable. Sienna Vega. Lena's heart raced. "That's it, proof." "Not enough," Nora warned. "It doesn't show her face clearly. Damien's lawyers will tear it apart. We need more." Lena slumped back, frustration burning her chest. "She practically admitted it to me at the plaza." "Do you have a recording?" Lena shook her head. Nora sighed. "Then it's your word against theirs. And in their world, words don't matter. Power does." At that moment, the bell above the cafe door jingled. Lena glanced up and froze. Damien Cross. He stepped inside like he owned the air itself. Immaculate gray suit, eyes cool and unreadable. Conversations faltered around him. Even strangers knew instinctively to give him space. Nora snapped her laptop shut. "He can't know we're working together," she hissed. But Damien was already walking toward them, his gaze locked on Lana with quiet intensity. He slid into the booth opposite her, uninvited. "You should be more careful about your meetings," he said smoothly, his voice a low baritone. "New York has eyes everywhere." Lena's skin prickled. "Are you threatening me?" Damien smiled faintly. "No, advising you there's a difference." Nora's jaw clenched. "You planted those shoes, didn't you? Or had Sienna do it?" His eyes flicked to her, then back to Lena, dismissing Nora as if she were furniture. "Do you know what happens when someone tries to fight me, Miss Brooks? They get destroyed, and not dramatically, quietly, efficiently. Careers vanish, credit scores crumble, families scatter, people forget you existed. Do you want that?" Lena forced herself not to look away. "You can't erase the truth." His smile widened, amused. Truth is whatever people believe, and right now the world believes you're a thief. That's all that matters." He leaned forward, blurring his voice. "Take my advice, walk away. Find a new city, a new job, a new life. Do that, and I might be generous enough to let you fade quietly. Stay here, and you'll be nothing but a cautionary tale." Lana's nails dug into her palms. For a moment, fear threatened to drown her. But then she remembered her brother's face, the way he looked at her when the scandal broke. She couldn't abandon him or herself. "No," she said firmly, "I won't disappear. You framed me, and I'm going to prove it." For the first time, Damien's expression hardened, a crack in the polished facade. He studied her silently, then stood. "Then may God help you," he said coldly. "Because I won't." He left without another glance, his presence lingering like smoke. Nora exhaled shakily. "That man terrifies me." Lana nodded, her pulse still racing. But he slipped, Nora. He admitted it, even if he didn't mean to. He's scared of the truth coming out. "Scared enough to play dirty," Nora muttered. She opened her laptop again. "I think I can pull more footage, maybe other angles, if we can prove Sienna was in that locker room." Her words cut off when a shadow fell over their table. A man in a black suit stood there, tall, expression blank. "Miss Brooks." Lena stiffened. "Yes." He handed her an envelope from Mr. Cross. "Have a nice day." Without another word, he walked out. Nora grabbed the envelope first, tearing it open. Inside was a single sheet of paper. A cease and desist order. Nora scanned quickly. "He's threatening legal action if you keep spreading false accusations. He's trying to scare you into silence." Lena's stomach knotted. Damien was already pulling his strings, but fear turned to fire. If he's this desperate, it means we're getting close. That night, Lena returned to her apartment. She barely had time to drop her bag before her phone buzzed again. Another text from the blocked number. "Still chasing ghosts? Try the rooftop at the Langford Hotel. Midnight, come alone." Her heart skipped. Another lead or another trap. She thought about ignoring it, but the memory of Damien's smirk pushed her forward. She couldn't let him win by hiding. At 11:45, Lena stood outside the Langford, the neon sign flickering above her. The lobby was quiet, the elevator ride-up suffocating. When she stepped onto the rooftop, the city stretched endlessly around her. The wind whipped her hair across her face. For a moment, the roof looked empty. Then a voice spoke from the shadows. "You shouldn't have come." Lena spun and froze. It was Sienna. It wasn't Damien. It was someone she never expected to see, someone who could change everything. The rooftop wind howled, pulling at Lena's coat as she stared at the figure stepping out of the shadows. For a split second, her breath caught in her throat. It was Sienna. It wasn't Damien. It was Nora. Her manager, the one person Lena thought she could trust, stood there with her arms crossed, eyes sharp and unreadable in the glow of the city lights. "Nora," Lena whispered, "what are you doing here? You sent that text." Nora didn't answer right away. She walked slowly across the rooftop, her heels clicking against the concrete. "You're in over your head, Lena." Lana's pulse quickened. "You told me to fight. You showed me the footage. Why would you?" "I told you to be careful," Nora cut in, her voice firm. "Damien Cross doesn't just crush people in boardrooms. He ruins lives. Do you know how many employees have tried to expose him? They disappear, quietly. No headlines, no justice." "What?" Lana's throat tightened. "So you're saying I should stop, just give up?" Nora finally stopped a few feet away. Her expression softened, but her voice was edged with fear. "I'm saying he already knows about us. He's watching every move. If you keep pushing, he'll come after me too. And her voice faltered, "I can't afford to lose everything." Lana swallowed hard, torn between hurt and rage. "So what? You're switching sides? You're here to warn me or to betray me?" Nora's jaw clenched. For a moment, Lena swore she saw guilt flicker in her eyes. "I'm still your friend, but I need you to understand something. Damien isn't scared of you. He's angry. That makes him dangerous." Lena shook her head, backing away. "You were the only one I trusted, Nora. If you're telling me to walk away, maybe you were never on my side." Before Nora could reply, a loud clang echoed from the rooftop door. Both women turned. The heavy door swung open, and two men in suits stepped out, their faces hard, their movements precise. Damien's men. "Run," Nora hissed. But it was too late. The men advanced quickly. One reached for Lena's arm, but she jerked back, adrenaline surging. She bolted toward the far end of the roof, her shoes slipping against the slick concrete. The city stretched below, dizzying lights threatening to swallow her whole. "Stop," one of the men barked. Lena didn't stop. She ducked behind an air conditioning unit, heart hammering so hard she thought her chest might burst. From the corner of her eye, she saw Nora step forward, holding up her hands. "Leave her alone," Nora shouted. "She's not worth this." The men hesitated. One of them pulled out his phone, muttering into it, "We've got a problem." Damien, he was probably on the other end, controlling everything even from miles away. Lana forced herself to breathe quietly, her mind racing. If she stayed hidden, they'd find her eventually. If she ran for the door, they'd catch her. Then she remembered the phone in her pocket. Hands trembling, she pulled it out and hit record. If she couldn't escape, maybe she could capture something, anything that proved Damien was hunting her. She peeked around the corner just as one of the men barked into his phone. "She's here. What do you want us to do with her?" Lena's blood ran cold. That was enough proof. She clutched the phone to her chest, praying the audio would save her later. Nora suddenly shouted again, louder this time. "Damien, listen to me. She's not the threat. I helped her. If you want someone, take me instead." The rooftop went silent. Even the men froze, their eyes flicking toward her in surprise. Lana's stomach twisted. Nora, her ally, her betrayer, her friend, was offering herself up. Before anyone could move, the second man's phone buzzed. He listened for a moment, then nodded. Understood. He turned to Nora. "Mr. Cross wants a word with you. Alone." "What?" The other man glared at Lana. "Stay put. If you try to run, you won't make it far." With that, they guided Nora back toward the rooftop door. She shot Lana one last look, half warning, half apology, before disappearing into the stairwell. And then Lana was alone again, the city's roar filling the emptiness around her. She sank against the concrete wall, her whole body shaking. Her phone still clutched the recording, her one shred of hope, but the image of Nora being led away gnawed at her. Had Nora just sacrificed herself, or was this another trap, another layer of manipulation? Her phone buzzed again, a new message, same block number. "You're running out of time. If you want the full truth, come to the Cross Foundation Gala tomorrow night. Dress appropriately." Lana stared at the words until they blurred. The gala. Damien's empire on display. The elite of Manhattan gathered under one roof. It was insane. She had no invitation, no money for a gown, no plan. But she knew one thing. If Damien was calling her into his world, it meant he was daring her to play his game. And maybe, just maybe, it was her only chance to turn the tables. That night she didn't sleep. She sat on the floor of her apartment, scrolling through images of past galas, glittering ballrooms, diamond necklaces, champagne towers, a world that was designed to keep women like her out. But Damien wanted her there, and she was done running. She whispered into the silence, clutching her phone. "You started this war, now I'm bringing it to your doorstep." The text glowed on Lana's phone like a dare. "Cross Foundation Gala, tomorrow night, dress appropriately." She stared at it until dawn crept through her window. It was absurd. She had no dress, no invitation, no way to blend into a ballroom filled with Manhattan's most powerful people. But she also knew this was Damien's move, pulling her into his arena, where he controlled every light, every camera, every whisper. If she didn't show up, he would claim victory by default. If she did, she risked walking straight into another trap. But there was no real choice. By evening, Lena stood before a cracked mirror in her apartment. She wore a gown she had borrowed from a thrift shop, its sequins dulled by time, hem shortened unevenly. Her hair was pinned back with drugstore clips, her shoes borrowed from a neighbor. She looked nothing like the women who would be sipping champagne at the gala, but it didn't matter. Tonight wasn't about glamour, it was about survival. Nora's absence nagged at her. Since the rooftop there had been no texts, no calls. Was she safe? Was she trapped? Or had she crossed fully into Damien's camp? Lena didn't know, and the uncertainty cut deeper than she wanted to admit. The Cross Foundation's ballroom was a cathedral of excess. Chandeliers dripped crystals, tables gleamed with gold cutlery. Guests in couture dresses and bespoke tuxedos floated across the marble floor, their laughter echoing beneath the vaulted ceiling. Lena slipped in unnoticed, clutching a borrowed clutch like it was armor. Every instinct told her she didn't belong here. Every chandelier seemed to spotlight her, every whisper to be about her. At the center of the room stood Damien Cross, magnetic in his tailored suit, shaking hands with senators, CEOs, and celebrities. Beside him, Sienna Vega sparkled in a crimson gown, her smile flawless for the cameras. When Damien's gaze swept the room and landed on Lana, his lips curved in a knowing smirk. She forced herself to keep moving, weaving through the crowd toward the buffet table. She could feel eyes on her, some curious, some judgmental. The gossip blogs had plastered her face across their headlines, the waitress thief. To these people, she was already infamous. "Is that her?" a woman whispered behind her champagne glass. "God, the nerve of even showing up," another replied. Lena pretended not to hear, but every word sank like a stone in her stomach. She picked up a glass of sparkling water, trying to steady her breathing. That was when a voice spoke beside her. "You clean up better than I expected." Ciano. She turned, and there was the influencer, impossibly radiant, a diamond necklace flashing at her collarbone. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. "You're brave," Santa continued, her tone dripping with mock admiration. "Or maybe just stupid, crashing a gala you weren't invited to. Bold choice for a thief." "I'm not a thief," Lena said quietly. "Tell that to the cameras." Sienna gestured toward the press station near the stage. "They're dying for a headline. Maybe I should give them one." Before Lena could respond, Damien himself approached, his presence commanding the space around him. Conversations hushed as guests noticed the billionaire turning his attention to the disgraced waitress. "Miss Brooks," Damien said smoothly, his voice carrying just enough warmth to sound dangerous. "I didn't expect you to accept my invitation, yet here you are." "I'm here for the truth," Lana replied, gripping her glass so tightly her knuckles whitened. Damien chuckled, the sound rich and practiced. "The truth, in this room, my dear, the only truth here is perception, and perception is mine to control." Sienna leaned closer to him, her smile razor sharp. "She looks nervous. Maybe she knows the game is over." The MC's voice echoed through the hall. "Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the annual Cross Foundation Gala." Applause erupted as Damien was guided toward the stage. Before he mounted the steps, he turned back to Lena and whispered, just loud enough for her to hear, "Stay in your lane, or you'll regret tonight more than you regret those shoes." Her skin crawled, but she refused to look wet. The speeches began, Damien standing tall under the spotlight, praising his foundation's charitable work, while Sienna glittered by his side. Cameras flashed, the crowd applauded, and Lena stood in the shadows, her heart pounding with fury. How could they not see? How could they cheer for a man who destroyed lives and dressed it up as philanthropy? Then movement at the edge of the room caught her eye. Nora. Her manager stood near the exit, her face pale, her eyes darting nervously. For a heartbeat, relief surged through Lana. Nora was alive, but then dread followed. Why was she here, and why did she look so terrified? Lana pushed through the crowd until she reached her. "Nora," she hissed, "what happened? Are you okay?" Nora grabbed her arm tightly. "We need to talk, not here, too many eyes." "Then where?" Nora's gaze flicked upward toward the balcony overlooking the ballroom. "Meet me in 10 minutes. I'll explain everything." "Oh." Before Lana could respond, Nora slipped back into the crowd, vanishing like smoke. The rest of the gala blurred. Lana barely heard Damien's speech, barely noticed the endless toasts. Her mind spun with questions. Was Nora still on her side, or had she come to finish what Damien started? Finally, she climbed the staircase to the balcony. The music below swelled, masking her footsteps. She found Nora waiting in the shadows, her expression tense. "I don't have much time," Nora whispered. "Damien, he's planning something tonight. He doesn't just want to silence you. He wants to use you." Lana's chest tightened. "Use me how?" Nora glanced around, her voice dropping lower. "There's more at stake than stolen shoes. He's laundering money through the foundation. The gala is just a cover, and if you keep digging, he'll pin it all on you." Lana's blood ran cold. "What are you saying?" Nora's eyes burned with urgency. "I'm saying you're in deeper than you realize. And if you don't get out now—" A voice cut through the air, sharp and commanding. "Well, isn't this cozy?" Lena spun around. Damien stood at the top of the stairs, flanked by 2 guards, his gaze fixed on her, his smile slow and lethal. Damien Cross stood at the top of the balcony stairs like a king surveying trespassers. His 2 guards blocked the exit behind him, their broad shoulders casting shadows that swallowed the stairwell. The gala's music thundered from below, muffling the guests' laughter, but here, in the narrow space above the ballroom, the air was suffocating. "Well, isn't this cozy?" Damien drawled, his voice smooth as velvet but sharp as a blade. His gaze slid from Nora to Lana, lingering on Lana with a predator's patience. "My waitress and my disloyal manager, whispering secrets in the dark." Nora stiffened. "Damien, it's not what you think." He held up a hand. "Please, don't insult me. I know exactly what this is, and it ends tonight." "What?" Lena forced herself to step forward, though every muscle screamed for her to retreat. "You framed me. You planted those shoes, and now you're trying to bury me before the truth gets out." Damien's smile widened, effortless and cruel. "The truth," he chuckled softly. Miss Brooks, the truth is whatever story the world believes, and tonight the story is mine to write." He snapped his fingers. One guard handed him a sleek black tablet. Damien tapped the screen, and within seconds the giant projection screens hanging above the ballroom flickered. Conversations hushed below as the guests turned their eyes upward. "Ladies and gentlemen," Damien's voice boomed, carried by hidden microphones. "I apologize for interrupting your evening, but I believe in transparency." Lena's stomach dropped. He wasn't just confronting her, he was about to put her on display. The screens lit up with security footage, grainy black and white video of the employee locker room at La Mirage. Lena gasped. The footage showed her opening her locker, and inside, Sienna's glittering $10,000 stilettos. The angle, the timing, it looked damning. "No," Lana whispered, "this isn't real, it's edited. You cut out the part where—" Damien's voice drowned her out. "As you can see, Miss Brooks was caught red-handed with property that did not belong to her. My partner, Miss Vega, showed remarkable restraint in not pressing charges, but tonight, for the sake of my foundation and the integrity of our work, I cannot remain silent." Below, murmurs rippled through the crowd. Guests craned their necks, scandal gleaming in their eyes. "She really stole them. Unbelievable. I knew she looked out of place." Lena's chest heaved. She wanted to scream, to fight, to tear down the screens with her bare hands, but Damien wasn't finished. He turned smoothly, his eyes locking onto hers. "Miss Brooks, I invited you here because I wanted to give you one final chance to come clean, admit what you did. Apologize publicly, and perhaps, I might consider letting you walk away with your dignity intact." Her throat tightened. This was his trap. If she confessed, he won. If she denied it, the doctored footage would bury her anyway. "You're lying," she said, her voice shaking but loud enough to carry. "You set me up, and everyone in this room should know that Damien Cross doesn't build charities. He builds cover-ups. He launders money through this foundation." Gasps rippled across the crowd. For a heartbeat, silence reigned. Then Damien laughed, a low, controlled laugh that curled around the room like smoke. "You hear that?" he said to the audience. "A desperate thief spinning desperate tales, money laundering, truly creative. But if you're going to accuse me, Miss Brooks, you'll need more than words." Lena's eyes darted to Nora, who looked torn apart, fear etched deep across her face. "Tell them," Lena begged. "Tell them what you found, the missing footage, the files." "Everything." Nora opened her mouth, then closed it. Damien's gaze snapped to her. "Careful, Nora. Remember your contract. Remember your family." Tears welled in her eyes. Her voice broke. "I can't." The betrayal cut Lena deeper than any knife. She staggered back, her vision blurring. Damien's smirk deepened. "There it is," he said softly. "Silence is louder than any accusation. And now, ladies and gentlemen, I think we can all agree this matter is settled." Applause rose from the crowd, hesitant at first, then stronger, like a tide washing over her. Lena stood frozen, her heart shattering, as Damien raised his glass to the audience. "To integrity," he declared. The ballroom echoed with cheers, cameras flashed, and Lena felt the walls of the world closing in. But then something unexpected. Her phone buzzed. She slipped it from her clutch with trembling fingers, shielding the screen from sight. A new message from the blocked number. "Check your recording. You caught more than you think." Her pulse spiked. The rooftop. She had recorded Damien's men asking what to do with her. Evidence, real evidence. Hope flared, faint but alive. But Damien was watching her, his sharp eyes narrowing. He sensed the shift in her. He leaned in close, his voice low enough for only her to hear. "Whatever you think you have, it won't save you. In my world, evidence disappears." Lena forced herself to meet his gaze. "Then maybe I'll take it somewhere you can't touch." His smirk faltered for the briefest moment. It was enough. Enough to tell her she had a weapon. Enough to remind her she wasn't beaten yet. But the night wasn't over. As the music swelled and Damien led Santa back into the spotlight, Nora brushed past Lena, whispering urgently, "Don't go home tonight. They'll be waiting." Then she was gone again, swallowed by the crowd. Lena stood trembling on the balcony, clutching her phone like a lifeline, surrounded by enemies, betrayed by silence, but armed with the faint spark of proof. She wasn't done. Not yet. The ballroom lights dimmed as Damien wrapped his speech, the applause still echoing through the chandeliers. Lana remained frozen on the balcony, clutching her phone so tightly her knuckles ached. The message replayed in her mind like a drumbeat. Check your recording, you caught more than you think. Her rooftop audio, she hadn't had the courage to listen yet, but now, amid the glittering spectacle below, she knew it was her only weapon. She slipped into a quiet hallway, away from the noise, and pressed play. Static crackled, then came the voices of Damien's men. She's here, what do you want us to do with her? Her chest tightened, then faintly Damien's voice responded, make it clean, no mess. Lena's hand shook as she covered her mouth. He hadn't just set her up, he'd ordered them to eliminate her. This was no longer a scandal, it was survival. She rushed back into the crowd, desperate to find Nora. If anyone could help her get this recording to the press, it was her. She spotted her manager near the back of the room, standing stiffly by the champagne fountain. Nora, Lena hissed, grabbing her arm. I have proof. I recorded Damien on the rooftop. He wanted to be gone permanently. For a split second, Nora's eyes widened, then her expression hardened. Not here, too many years. Lana nodded quickly. Then where? We need to get this to someone safe. But Nora didn't move. Instead, she glanced toward the stage, where Damien and Sienna basked under the spotlight, champagne flutes in hand. And then Nora whispered something that made Lana's blood run cold. Give it to me. Lana pulled back. What? Your phone, Nora pressed, her voice low, urgent. I'll make sure it gets out. You can't be seen with it. Trust me. Trust me. The same words Nora had used the night she showed her the footage. The same words she'd whispered before disappearing with Damien's men. Lana's heart pounded. Every instinct screamed that something was wrong. Her silence stretched too long. Nora's eyes darkened. Lana, if you want to survive this, give me the phone, now. No, Lana whispered. Nora's jaw tightened. Don't be stupid. Before Lana could react, a hand closed over hers. She spun around. One of Damien's guards loomed, his grip iron. Is there a problem here? Nora forced a smile. Not at all. She was just giving me something important. Lena yanked her hand free, fury boiling. You're working with him. The words hit like a gunshot. Gasps rippled nearby as a few guests overheard. Nora's face flushed, but she didn't deny it. Instead, she leaned close, her voice a knife in Lena's ear. You think I had a choice? Damien owns everything, my contract, my debts, my life. You were never supposed to fight back. And now you've dragged me down with you. Lana staggered back, betrayal crashing over her. You sold me out. Damien's voice boomed again, seizing the room. Ladies and gentlemen, forgive the interruption. It seems our little thief can't resist creating more drama. Every eye turned to Lena. Damien descended from the stage with Sienna at his side, moving like royalty through their court. He stopped inches from her, his smirk cold and triumphant. Do you have something you'd like to share with us, Miss Brooks? Lena's pulse roared in her ears. She raised her phone high. Yes, proof you tried to silence me, proof you ordered your men to. The screen flickered, then went black. Her phone died in her hand. The room erupted in laughter, whispers, disbelief. Damien's smirk widened as he plucked the useless device from her trembling grip. He held it aloft like a trophy. This, he declared, is the desperate act of a guilty woman. Fabricating lies, waving around broken phones, trying to distract from her crimes. Applause thundered, cameras flashed, and Lena's stomach dropped into freefall. No, she screamed. He's lying. I had the recording you all heard. Enough, Damien snapped, his voice slicing through her. Security. Two guards closed in, gripping her arms. She struggled, but their strength was unbreakable. As they dragged her toward the exit, Sienna leaned close, her perfume sweet and suffocating. You really thought you could win, didn't you? She whispered, her smile razor sharp. How adorable. Lena's vision blurred with tears, fury mixing with despair. The crowd's faces melted into a blur of judgment and ridicule. But just before the doors swallowed her, a voice cut through the chaos. Wait. Everyone froze. It wasn't Damien, it was Sienna. It was a man standing at the edge of the crowd, raising his hand. He wore a gray suit, his face unfamiliar to most, but Lena recognized him instantly. A journalist, the same one who had been hounding the restaurant weeks ago, chasing whispers of corruption. I'll take her, the journalist said firmly, his press badge glinting. She came to me with evidence, and if you try to silence her here in front of all these witnesses, then maybe I've been right about you all along, Mr. Cross." The room erupted in shocked murmurs. Damien's eyes narrowed dangerously. For the first time, Lana saw something she hadn't before. Fleeting. It was fleeting, gone as quickly as it appeared, but it was real. Damien forced a laugh. "By all means, speak to the press. They thrive on fantasy, but fantasy doesn't change reality." The guards released Lana reluctantly, stepping back. The journalist caught her arm, steadying her. "You're not alone anymore," he whispered. Lana's breath shook as the ballroom's noise swirled around her. She wasn't free, not yet. Damien still held the stage, the money, the narrative. But for the first time, she wasn't the only one fighting. And that meant the game had changed. The ballroom's glittering chandeliers faded behind her as the journalist hurried Lana into the night. Flashes from paparazzi cameras chased them down the marble steps of the Cross Foundation. Questions flew like arrows. Is she confessing? Was it a setup? Lana, do you have evidence? The journalist didn't stop. He shoved open the door of a waiting town car and pulled her inside. The driver accelerated before the reporters could swarm. Inside, Lena slumped against the leather seat, her pulse still thundering. The journalist loosened his tie and extended his hand. Mark Hastings, investigative reporter, New York Ledger. She took it weakly, Lana Brooks. "I know," he said grimly. "Half the city knows, but they don't know the real story, and I think you're ready to tell it." For the first time in weeks, Lana felt the faint glow of possibility. Mark listened as she explained everything, how the shoes had been planted, how the footage was doctored, how Damien had ordered his men to silence her. She told him about Nora's betrayal, Sienna's trap, and the recording she'd lost when her phone died. Mark's expression darkened. That's classic Cross. He's been slippery for years. Politicians love him, investors worship him, but rumors of money laundering and intimidation have followed him like shadows. Nobody else ever nailed him, until maybe now. "Maybe," Lina echoed. "You need hard evidence," Mark said bluntly. "Recordings, documents, financial trails, stories don't stick without proof. But if you can give me something solid, I'll blow this wide open." Lena's chest tightened. "I had proof on my phone, but it's gone now." Mark leaned forward. "Then we get more." The next morning, Mark brought her to the Ledger's office. The newsroom buzzed with reporters chasing leads, phones ringing, keyboards clattering. Lena felt small among the chaos, but Mark guided her to his desk, cluttered with files. "We start by following the money," he said. "Cross Foundation hosts lavish galas, claims it's for charity. But the donations, they vanish, reappear in shell companies, offshore accounts. If we trace the flow, we tie him to the crime." Lena's head spun. "And you think I can help?" "You were inside his world," Mark replied. "At El Mirage, at the gala, you've seen things we haven't, and Cross underestimates you. That's our advantage." For the first time, she felt like she wasn't powerless. She had a role to play. But Damien Cross never stayed quiet for long. That afternoon, while Lana sifted through files with Mark, her phone buzzed with a notification. She froze. It wasn't a text. It was a trending headline. "Waitress thief's brother expelled from prestigious academy." Her blood turned to ice. She clicked the article. There it was, her younger brother Evan's face, plastered across gossip blogs. The school claimed disciplinary reasons, but Lana knew better. This was Damien. Her phone rang, unknown number. She answered with shaking hands. Damien's voice purred down the line. "You wanted to play with the press, Miss Brooks. Now your family gets to join the spotlight." "Leave him out of this," she cried. "Actions have consequences," Damien replied coolly. "You can't touch me, but I can destroy everything you love. Walk away, or Evan's life becomes collateral." The line went dead. Lena's knees buckled. She dropped into Mark's chair, tears burning her eyes. "He went after my brother. He got him expelled." Mark cursed under his breath. "That's his play, pressure the weakest link. But that means he's scared you rattled him." "That doesn't matter," Lena snapped. "Evan's future is ruined because of me." Mark knelt beside her, his voice steady. "Then we hit harder. We show him we can't keep doing this. You want to protect your brother. Expose Damien completely, once and for all." Lena wiped her tears, fury replacing despair. "Then let's finish this." That night they worked late, piecing together a puzzle of shell corporations, offshore accounts, and charitable donations that disappeared like smoke. Lena provided details she remembered from conversations at Le Mirage, names, dates, the VIP clients who whispered too loudly. Mark dug into public records, cross-referencing. Slowly, a picture emerged, money funneled through the Cross Foundation into luxury real estate and private accounts. "This is it," Mark said, tapping the screen. "If we can tie these accounts directly to him, the ledger will publish, and once it's out there, he can't bury it." Lena's pulse quickened. For the first time, she saw a future where Damien didn't win. But at midnight, as she left the office, a figure waited outside. Nora. She stood under a flickering street lamp, her face pale, her eyes rimmed red. Lena froze. "What are you doing here?" "I had to warn you," Nora whispered. "Damien knows you're working with the press. He's moving faster than you think. He's planning something tomorrow, something that will ruin you in front of the entire city." Lena's chest tightened. "Why are you telling me this? You betrayed me once already." Nora's voice cracked. "Because I'm done being his pawn. He has files, Lena, files that can prove everything, but they're hidden in his private office. If you want to bring him down, that's where you need to go." Mark stepped outside, suspicious. "And you expect us to believe this isn't another trap?" Nora's eyes filled with tears. "Believe what you want, but if you don't move now, you'll never get another chance." Lena looked at her, torn between rage and the faint flicker of hope. Nora could be lying, playing another game, or she could be offering the key to ending Damien's empire. Either way, it was the only lead she had. She turned to Mark, resolve hardening. "We're going into that office." Mark studied her face, then nodded. "Then we'd better be ready for war." The city glowed in steel and glass as Lana rode in the backseat of Mark's car. The hum of traffic blurred with her heartbeat, faster with every block they passed. Nora sat beside her, wringing her hands, her voice raw. "His office is on the 42nd floor of the Cross Tower," she explained. "He keeps files there that never touch the company servers, hard copies, contracts, ledgers. If you want to bring him down, that's where you'll find it." Mark glanced at her in the rearview mirror. "And you just happen to know where he hides his deepest secrets?" Nora's eyes flickered. "I worked for him for years. I've seen enough to know, but I can't get you in. Security is tight. You'll need to use the gala distraction to slip through." Lena swallowed hard. "Then we go tonight, before he knows we're coming." They parked a block away. The cross tower loomed above them, glass panels reflecting the moonlight. Inside, the gala after-party still pulsed with music and chatter, celebrities sipping cocktails under Damien's watchful eye. Mark adjusted the strap of his camera bag. "If this goes south, we're finished." Lena nodded. "Then it can't go south." Nora led them through a service entrance, swiping her employee badge with trembling fingers. They slipped into a dim hallway lined with metal doors. Every step echoed like a warning. Finally, they reached an elevator that required a second clearance. Nora leaned close to the scanner, whispering, "Please still work." The light turned green, and the doors slid open. The ride to the 42nd floor felt endless. When the doors opened, silence greeted them. No music, no chatter, just a polished corridor with Damien's name embossed on a mahogany door at the end. "This is it," Nora whispered. Lana's chest tightened. Her entire life had funneled into this hallway. Every humiliation, every betrayal, every tear, it all pointed here. Mark nodded. "Let's move." Nora swiped them in. The office was vast, lined with glass walls overlooking Manhattan. Shelves of leather-bound books stretched to the ceiling. At the center, a desk gleamed beneath a chandelier. And there, stacked neatly inside a locked cabinet, were folders. Mark set to work with a lockpick kit. A few seconds. Lana's hands shook as she glanced around. She felt like eyes were on her, though the office was empty. Finally, the lock clicked. Mark pulled the cabinet open. Inside were ledgers, contracts, and bank statements stamped with Cross Foundation's logo. Nora whispered those files could ruin him. Lena grabbed a folder, flipping through numbers that spiraled across the page. Offshore accounts, transfers, names of donors funneled into shell companies. It was all there. Her knees nearly buckled. This is it. This proves everything. The triumph lasted seconds. The office door slammed shut. All three of them spun. Sienna Vega stood in the doorway, draped in another glittering gown, her smile icy. 2 guards flanked her. "Well, well," she drawled, "the waitress, the crusader, and the traitor, how touching." Nora paled. "Sienna, please." "Shut up," Sienna snapped, her voice dripping venom. You had one job, Nora, to keep her quiet. Instead, you brought her here. Her gaze slid to Lena, hard and sharp. Do you think you're the first person to try and take Damien down? You're not. You're just the loudest, and loud gets silenced. Mark stepped forward. If you stop us now, you go down with him. These documents don't just have Damien's name. Yours is all over them. Sienna's mask cracked. For the first time, fear flickered across her perfect face. You're lying. Mark held up a contract. Shell companies in Vega Holdings. Transfers routed straight to your accounts. Damien set you up as the fall girl. When this explodes, you'll be the one in handcuffs, not him. What? The room went still. Sienna's eyes darted to the papers, then to the guards. Doubt nodded her composure. That's not possible. Lena's voice cut through. He used you, Sienna, just like he used me. You were never his partner, you were his shield. Sienna's lips trembled, but her pride fought back. No, Damien loves me, he promised. Promise to what? Lena pressed. Stand by you, protect you. Look at those documents. He's already thrown you to the wolves. The guards shifted uncomfortably, glancing between Sienna and the evidence. For a heartbeat, the facade shattered. Sienna's face crumpled with realization. Then anger replaced it, burning bright. If I'm going down, she hissed, I'll take him with me. She snatched a folder from the cabinet, clutching it like a weapon. These files, if the press sees them, Damien's finished. Mark raised his camera. Then let's walk out together, publish everything in this. But before they could move, the guards' radios crackled. A cold voice came through, Damien's. Is she there? The guards froze. Sienna's eyes widened. She knew. Damien had been watching all along. Answer me, Damien's voice demanded. One guard hesitated, then he replied, yes, all of them. The office lights snapped off. Darkness swallowed the room. Lana's heart lurched. She clutched the folder tighter, the weight of betrayal and salvation in her hands. Somewhere in the dark, Sienna cursed, papers scattering across the floor. Then the emergency lights flickered on, just enough to reveal chaos. One guard was down, the other had bolted, and Sienna was gone, the door swinging shut behind her. She took the files, Mark shouted. Lana's chest tightened. Damien's pawn had become a rogue queen, and she now held the evidence that could destroy them all. The emergency lights buzzed overhead, painting Damien's office in cold red shadows. Papers fluttered across the floor like fallen feathers. Lena's lungs heaved, her chest burning. She took the files, Mark repeated, his voice taut. If Sienna gives them to the press, Damien's empire crumbles. Nora shook her head, panic in her eyes. No, if Damien catches her first, she won't live long enough to hand them over. Lena tightened her grip on the scattered folders still in her hands. Not everything was gone. Enough remained to prove something. But Sienna carried the crown jewel, the file that tied Damien to everything. Then we find her, Lena said firmly, before he does. The night turned into a chase. They tore down the 42nd floor, through deserted corridors into stairwells echoing with frantic footsteps. Somewhere above them, alarms wailed, security scrambling. On the street, the city throbbed with midnight energy. Taxis honked, neon signs glared, and in the distance, Lena spotted a flash of red satin. Sienna's gown disappearing into a waiting car. There, Mark shouted. They sprinted, but the car screeched away, tires shrieking against asphalt. Lena doubled over, breath ragged. For a moment, hopelessness threatened to crush her. Sienna had the evidence, Damien had the power, and she was still just a waitress with nothing left to lose. But then Mark gripped her shoulder. Wait, I know where she's going. Half an hour later, they pulled up outside the Waldorf Astoria. A charity gala's after-party glittered inside, the city's elite drinking away the night. Mark's jaw tightened. She'll run where the cameras are. Sienna thrives on being seen. If she's scared Damien will bury her, she'll put herself where he can't touch her, at least not without witnesses. Lena swallowed hard. Then that's where we finish this. Inside, chandeliers sparkled over the crowd. Laughter and clinking glasses filled the air. And there she was, Sienna Vega, standing on the grand staircase, clutching a crystal glass in one hand and a leather fielder in the other. Ladies and gentlemen, she purred, her voice carrying across the hall. You all came here to celebrate wealth and generosity, but what if I told you it's all a lie? Gasps rippled, cameras swung toward her. Lena's pulse hammered. Sienna was doing it. She was turning on Damien. But then a darker shadow moved at the edge of the room. Damien Cross. He strode into the ballroom like a storm, his presence swallowing the air. Guards fanned out behind him. The crowd murmured, torn between fascination and fear. "Sienna," he said smoothly, his voice amplified without a microphone. "Put it down." She laughed bitterly. "Why, so you can throw me under the bus? I saw the contracts, Damien. I saw how you made me the fall girl. Did you really think I wouldn't notice?" Whispers erupted. Journalists raised their phones, recording. Damien's mask of control flickered. "You're hysterical," he said coldly. "Everyone knows you thrive on drama. Don't embarrass yourself." Sienna raised the folder high. "No, Damien, tonight everyone sees who you really are." "What?" Lena pushed through the crowd, Mark at her side. "If she hands it over, this is done," she whispered. But before Sienna could move, a guard lunged. The folder flew from her hands, scattering papers across the marble floor. Chaos erupted, guests screaming, reporters scrambling for the pages. Lana dove forward, snatching one before it hit the ground. Her eyes scanned the words: bank accounts, signatures, transfers, proof, real proof. Damien's voice roared across the hall. "Enough, this circus is over." He signaled his men. The guards shoved through the crowd, gathering documents, silencing journalists. The spectacle teetered on the edge of collapse. And then Lena climbed the staircase. Her legs trembled, but she lifted the paper high. Her voice cracked, but it carried. "Look at this. These are Damien Cross's accounts. This is proof that the Cross Foundation is a front for money laundering. He's been stealing from every single person in this room." Silence. Dozens of phones aimed at her. Every flash captured her tear-streaked face, her shaking hands, the document in her grasp. Damien's fury turned molten. "Take her down." Two guards rushed the stairs, but before they reached her, a voice cut in. "Touch her and every camera here will know you're guilty." Mark, he stood on a table, camera flashing, recording every move. Behind him, journalists had their phones raised, live streaming the chaos. Damien froze. For the first time, he wasn't in control. Sienna stumbled beside Lena, her makeup streaked with tears. "He'll kill me for this," she whispered. Lena shook her head. "No, he already killed you the moment he made you a scapegoat. This time you stand with me, or you fall alone." For a long moment, Sienna hesitated. Then she lifted her chin and turned to the cameras. "He's right," she said, voice trembling but clear. "Damien Cross used me. He used all of us. I have proof, and I won't stay silent anymore." The room erupted. Guests gasped, reporters shouted. The empire cracked before their eyes. Police sirens wailed outside. Damien's smirk twisted into a snarl. "You think this ends me? I built this city. You're nothing." Lena's voice shook, but it was strong. "I'm enough to end you." The doors burst open. Officers stormed in, pushing through the chaos. Damien's guards scattered, and for the first time the billionaire looked small, cornered by truth he couldn't buy or bury. They cuffed him under the glare of flashing cameras, his eyes locked on Lena S., filled with hate. This isn't over. But Lena knew it was. Hours later, the ballroom was nearly empty. Reporters packed up, police escorted Damien out, and the city buzzed with headlines already spreading like wildfire. Lena stood by the window, the weight of the night settling over her. Sienna approached quietly, her gown torn, her mascara streaked. "I guess this is the end for both of us," she murmured. "No," Lena said softly, "this is the start. You can finally be free if you choose to be." Sienna's eyes shimmered with something fragile, regret, maybe hope. She nodded and slipped away into the night. Mark joined Lana at the window. "You did it. You really did it." Lana exhaled, tears welling. For the first time in months, the air didn't feel heavy. The truth was out. But when she thought of Evan, her brother, her chest tightened. His future was still scarred by Damien's cruelty, and hers was uncertain. Yet in that moment, beneath the glittering Manhattan skyline, she felt something stronger than fear. Resilient, she whispered to herself, barely audible. "No one can steal my worth." The end, but the story lives on in every person who's ever been silenced and chose to speak anyway.